All right, first off, if you have not yet done a share with a partner and filled out the top 2 questions here, what's your survey's purpose and what kinds of questions will be the best for you and why, please pause the video, do those first 2 questions, and then come back to the video. Once the video is done, my goals for this are that you're able to rate 3 to 8 questions for your survey, preview your entire survey. So some question writing tips to think about. First, your questions should be clear, simple, and to the point. Don't write a question that's a paragraph long. Keep them simple. Second one, don't have more than 6 options on a multiple choice or checkbox question. That's just a lot for people to have to scroll through. So maybe consider a drop-down menu instead, or break it into 2 different questions. 3, make sure you're covering all the possible choices that people might give and also give an other choice, and I'll show you how to do that. And similarly, 4, give an opt-out choice just in case the respondent doesn't choose any of your answers. And then numbers 5 and 6, avoid double-barreled questions, which are questions that have some assumptions and that are putting 2 questions in 1 question. And then number 6, keep away from bias. So don't put your feelings into the survey that would maybe sway someone to answer a certain way. So we're going to take a peek at my survey and give you some ideas of that. First off, when you are adding a question to your survey, remember that we have lots of different choices. I want to go over 2 big categories of questions. So the first, where you have short answer and paragraph, these are questions that are called qualitative answers or open-ended questions where people are able to put in their own words what they're thinking or feeling. The second type of question would be quantitative or closed-ended questions. Multiple choice, checkbox, and drop-down are examples of those. People have to choose from an answer, or they can checkbox multiple answers, but they're forced to pick, and that would be a quantitative or closed-ended question. Now, I'm not saying one is better than the other, but both give different types of data that you'll be able to use to support your persuasive essay. It probably would be a great idea to do some of each type of question. So make sure you sprinkle in some quantitative or closed-ended and also some qualitative or open-ended. All right, so one tip that I talked about was make sure you have an add other option. So if I had the question, how much time do you think is reasonable to spend with your pet for feeding, grooming, playing, reading to? And I give 5, 10, or 15. Well, what about people who might spend more or less or whatever? So you can click here to add other. And then when you preview that, what it will look like for your person is they can click another option if they don't agree with it. So giving an opt-out or the possibility for people to have. This one, how much do you spend with your pet? I give different minutes of time, more than 25, or I also gave the option, I don't spend time with my pet, and that's okay too. So know that you can give an open-ended type where people are able to type in their own answer. So examples of that. Also, I wanted to go over double-barreled questions and questions with bias. So a double-barreled question, this is an example of one right here, is giving too many choices within one question. So when I ask how much time is reasonable for feeding, grooming, playing, and reading to, what if someone doesn't read to their pet? That's not really a fair question to ask. So what I would need to do is maybe break this question into 4 different questions. So don't put too many choices within a question, which is forcing people to answer something that doesn't apply to them. So that's double-barreled. Bias would be you are sharing kind of your feelings or opinions about the topic, and then it kind of leads or sways people to answer a certain way. So if I had this question, scientific research studies have proven that there are many benefits to having a pet. What are your top 3 reasons? That's making people assume that they agree with that. So that would be an example of having bias in a question. A better way might be, what are the top 3 benefits of having a pet? That kind of puts it out there without leading them into those beliefs. A couple other things I wanted to make sure that you had, things to note. So When this video is finished, you are going to write your survey questions. So again, remember, close-ended questions force the respondent to choose from a limited number of answers. Sometimes you want that because it's easy to graph. Give your quantitative data. Open-ended questions let the respondent to answer a question in their own words. That would be qualitative. And again, that might give you some really good ideas for your persuasive essay. Things you maybe wouldn't have thought of that the respondent did. And again, be intentional about how you use quantitative versus qualitative questions. They're both great kinds of questions, but they give you different types of information. And last, it's really important to preview your survey to see what it will look like to a respondent. So let's take a peek at that to close out. So let's say I thought my survey was finished. I can go up to the preview button at the top and see what it's going to look like. And I might say, oh my gosh, I have a weird thing going on here. I need to go back to that question and fix that up. Or I might say, ooh, I need to delete that question or possibly change the order of a question. So when you're finished with that, you can close that tab out and go back. And let's say you needed to delete something or move, like this question here, I didn't ever fill it out. Just click the garbage can and you can delete it. So you can clean up your survey that way. If you want to change the order, let's say I want having a pet help you be moved up, you can click it, drag it, and move it up to the order that you want it to be in. Okay, so that's a possibility too. I might also say a good tip might be to number your questions. So at the beginning of a question, here, once you get your survey all completed, you've previewed it, you like how it looks, I would go ahead and go back in and add numbers to each of your questions so that a person taking your survey kind of knows what to expect and how much time it might take to fill your survey out. So when you're finished, you've previewed it yourself, I'd like you to find a partner, have your partner look over your survey, read it carefully. Again, you're wanting to make sure that you give an opt-out choice or an other choice for people to add their own answers so that they're not stuck within your questions. So go ahead and go write your questions, preview your survey, and then when you're finished, go ahead and complete the last cell here of having a partner preview your survey and give you feedback.